a dream that my 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. I have a dream today.
Knowing how to effectively express your opinion is a valuable skill that will help you in all areas of life. It can improve your relationships, it can get you the grades you want, and it can advance your career. This video will present a model for how to state your opinion, and by understanding this model, you also understand how to write essays. A convincing argument has 3 components. First, it's the claim, known to some as the statement. Then there is the evidence, and finally the analysis. The claim is the point you're trying to make. A claim is never a fact, rather it needs to be something potentially arguable. Reading may be the best way to improve your English vocabulary. And that pizza place is really nasty are both claims because they're both potentially arguable and not facts, while cats are animals is not a claim as it is a fact. But a claim alone should not convince anyone. Hopefully you look at these examples and think, how do you know that? Which brings us to the evidence. Straight after you present your claim, you want to deliver the evidence for how you know that the claim is valid. Evidence can be statistics or quotes from text or other people, but they can also be examples or generally accepted knowledge. For the claim that reading improves your vocabulary, here's a piece of evidence from an article. According to Day and Bamford, reading teaches you mastery of English in a unique way by allowing you multiple encounters with words and phrases in different contexts. For the pizza place claim, this example might serve as evidence. Last time I was there, I was given moldy bread. Finally, the last piece of a convincing argument is the analysis, where you analyze the evidence you presented and tell the reader, in your own words, how that evidence proves the claim you made. Now this might sound unnecessary to some, but remember, the reader cannot read your mind, and what is evidence to you may not be to me. For example, if you actually look into the arguments of those who claim that the moon landing was faked, or that the earth is flat, or any other conspiracy theory, you will find that they do have evidence for their claims. What makes these claims so ridiculous are the conclusions that they draw from that evidence. For this reason, because we all interpret evidence so differently, the analysis is the most important part of an argument, because this is all you. Your commentary and your reasoning. This is also generally the longest piece of an argument. A good rule is to have at least 2 sentences of analysis following every piece of evidence. Analysis for how the reading evidence supports that claim could be: continuous encounters with unfamiliar words in different contexts allow for a deeper understanding of both what the word means and how you should use it. Since language learning is a skill, repetition is key to mastering it. Analysis for how the pizza place evidence supports that claim might be: even though it may have been an honest mistake, serving moldy bread implies that they are not too careful with how they handle and store their food. When you go to a restaurant to eat, you shouldn't have to be worried about the quality of the food. For every claim, you can, and often should, present multiple evidence and subsequent analysis. Maybe you look at my second example here and say, they served moldy bread once? That's bad, but can you really say that the whole place is nasty because of it? So maybe I need to add another piece of evidence and analysis for this claim to be truly convincing. How about this? Another thing I noticed is that their cutlery is always a little dirty, like they barely washed it. And for analysis, dirty cutlery implies that they are not too careful with hygiene in general. A restaurant needs to take hygiene very seriously, as many people eat with the same cutlery, and if you do not wash them properly, you could transmit diseases. Hopefully, now I have convinced you that that pizza place is indeed nasty, so let's not eat there again, unless you're buying. So far, we have worked with narrow claims that can be supported with evidence straight away. But what if I claim the following? Cats are better house pets than dogs. How do I know that? The only way I could provide evidence for this here is if I had some statistic that showed that this is a fact. But that would also make the claim a fact, and as we know, you can never claim a fact. Still, I want to try to argue that this is true, so what do I do? Well, another way to validate a claim is to use reasons as evidence, that is to say, other more narrow claims, mini-claims. Check this out. If I here, as evidence, claim that cats are easier to take care of, and provide evidence and analysis for that claim, and then also claim that cats are civilized members of the household, and then support that with evidence and analysis, you might be convinced that I have a point. However, this is starting to look a little messy, and it's not even that convincing of a claim, since I felt that I had to make my analysis very short in order to make this paragraph more easily readable. Clarity is, after all, the most important quality of a good text. This is why using other claims as evidence is inefficient, and should be avoided until you're experienced enough that you know what you're doing. However, surely there must be a way for me to present this claim in a clear way that also allows me to take my time with the analysis so that each of these mini-claims that act as evidence are actually convincing. The answer is really quite simple. If a claim is broad enough that it requires multiple mini-claims or arguments as evidence, then most likely that claim can also serve as a thesis statement in an essay instead, which allows you to separate each of these mini-claims into a paragraph each. Their function is still the same though, as evidence for why the now thesis statement is valid. If you're looking for more information about what a thesis statement is and how you develop one, go see my video about that.